Hello and welcome back to the WCBN Draft Grades Edition. My name is Andrew Miller and that's Alex Kramer. How's it going, Alex? Back at it.
Yeah, excited to be doing another one of these, working on the NFC South
Yeah,
today.
NFC South. I think this is probably maybe one of the better drafting divisions this time around. So I'm excited to talk about this. We're gonna get started. The Carolina Panthers got a new head coach and who's a defensive-minded guy, and you know what? They didn't stray from it. Every single one of their picks was on the defensive side of the ball, and I'm gonna be honest, every single one of their picks made so much sense to me. I gave this draft an A+. I really did. I think that Derek Brown was the perfect guy. You get a foundation star in Derek Brown at number 7. Yetur Gross-Matos fell, and he can be a really good edge rusher, a power rusher, opposite Ryan Burns. Jeremy Chin is a great tackler safety, linebacker hybrid that you got at the end of the second round by trading up. And then you get like Troy Pride Jr., who was like a surprise sleeper in the 4th. And you get the star of the XFL and Kenny Robinson in the 5th. And you also get a Baylor guy to help break in Matt Rule's system in the 6th. I think this draft was perfect from top to bottom, A+.
I gave it a B+. I love some of the picks in here, but they only took defensive players. I mean, I know Rule's a defensive guy, but I mean, Joe Brady's a first-time coordinator in the NFL, and I mean, he's got some weapons. He's got the best running back in the NFL and Christian McCaffrey. He's got Moore. He's got Curtis Samuel. He has Robbie Anderson now. But, I mean, they just traded Trey Turner. They have a guy they feel like could be a left tackle. But, I mean, the offensive line is really weak now, and they didn't take anybody there. Starting from top to bottom, love the Derek Brown pick. He can be foundational pick there. Gross-Matos, I like a lot. I think he's really similar to Brian Burns, which I think could really, really work out there, and he really solidifies that defensive line. Jeremy Chin, I love that pick. He can be a playmaker in the defense there. After that, I really wasn't a fan of anything else they did. I don't think Troy Pride nor Thomas Oliver from FIU can come close to filling the shoes of James Bradbury. So you really got worse at corner. I mean, that was one of your biggest needs, arguably. And defensive line was one of the strengths of this team, one of the stronger parts of this team on the defensive side of the ball last year. You got stronger there, which is great, but the back end of that defense is still really going to struggle. I like the Jeremy Chin pick, but those corners are going to struggle out there, and I would have liked to see an offensive line there. Still, really good draft, B+ for me.
Yeah, I think with the issue with the all defense thing is that their positions on offense were not the positions you want to target in this class. It's just plain and simple. They did not. This is not
Fair
the
enough.
draft the targeted guard. This is not the draft. They're clearly targeting a quarterback for next year. This is not the draft to get a.
I don't know. Teddy could be the future there.
I think Teddy's
Wouldn't be
very
surprised.
much. I think they're very much like trying to get a foundation. Hopefully, they're going to get their quarterback next year. Like they said, like remember Matt Barkley or like Mike Glennon. Like it happens. Or Sam Bradford especially. Sam Bradford was brought there to like be the guy and immediately traded.
I don't think Mike Glennon was brought there as a
No, you're right.
as a transition guy. I think he was brought there to be the future. I mean, Teddy might not work out, but I think he's going to have every opportunity to win that job.
I think the job's his. Like I think he'll be there for 3 years, being like a legit starting quarterback. I think they're going to find their quarterback next year in the draft. I mean, next year's filled with quarterbacks, but
how much would you love to see Trey Lance on this team next year?
Oh my God, I would cry. That'd be the perfect. But I'm holding out hope that he joins a different team. So we'll get back. We'll see what it's like next year. We're getting ahead of ourselves. Next draft that we're going to talk about is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They got Tom Brady. They are clearly targeting a Super Bowl this year or next year. If they make a pick that's developmental, it's probably the wrong pick. And you know what? For the most part, I would say for their first 4 or 5 picks, they did what they had to do. I gave them an A-. Their first 2 picks were stellar. Trading up for Tristan Wirfs was to make sure no one else gets him. It's perfect. You get Tom Brady's right tackle or right guard and finishing off that line to keep him protected. They got their secondary fix in the second round with Antoine Winfield, which I thought was like, how does this happen? How does everything fall for Brady every single time? Their secondary has been a problem, but they fixed that almost with one pick. They got another receiver, a receiver who I really loved in Tyler Johnson. I thought he was great. So I think he'd be a good number 3. I think they were a little richer receiver, but you can't blame him for drafting a receiver in this class. And then getting Khalil Davis, who's just a big guy up front. And not to mention Keyshawn Vaughn, who I thought was an underrated player in this draft and being forgotten as like a real he's like mini Clyde Edwards-Helaire is what I thought, like dollar store version of him. I think that they got a guy who's really good in case Ronald Jones works or can complement him pretty well. So I give it an A-. I think there's a couple places they could have gone elsewhere than they did, but for the most part, they picked impact players, which is what you need.
Yeah, I completely agree with you about their first 2 picks. Wirfs and Winfield Jr., plug-and-play, high-end starters from day one, which is what the goal of this draft was. They were both great value. I don't know how Winfield was there, but regardless, they're going to make the team better right now. And that's what you were looking for there. I like Vaughn, just like you do, but Zach Moss was on the board there.
Yeah.
I really thought they were going to go with him, and I really think that Moss will be a better pro. And then Tyler Johnson's going to be their 4th wide receiver on that team. And I am not convinced at all that Tyler Johnson can play special teams, which is what you need a 4th wide receiver to do. I really am not a Tyler Johnson fan. He and everything after that. I mean, Khalil Davis, he's a run stuffer, but I mean, I didn't love that pick. I didn't love anything they did really after the 2nd round. I like Keyshawn Vaughn, so it's a solid B for me, a really solid draft. Those top 2 picks, though, are just phenomenal and phenomenal value.
Listen, yeah, I get Keyshawn, like Zach Moss would have been there, but Bruce Arians has a plan. There's like a famous story about how like Bruce Arians was like sad that the Lions passed it up, that the Lions took Amir Abdullah because he was going to take him really fast. Like that was the guy he wanted the whole draft, and he was like absolutely sad. So he took David Johnson, and look what happened. So I think he knows what he's doing with running backs. I think that there were other. You're right. Zach Moss was a guy I thought was going to be great over there, but I think overall the Tampa Bay Buccaneers did a really good job in this draft.
They got better.
Yeah, they got better. They're a Super Bowl contender, like it or not. The Atlanta Falcons had a confusing draft to me. I liked a lot of their picks. I just think that they were complete reaches almost everywhere. Like I normally like every single player they drafted. It's just I don't get why they were drafted there. Starting with the first pick, AJ Terrell, I thought was a first-round quarterback. I think people are saying he's a reach. I think he's fine, but I think you could have got him later. Marland Davidson, I like where he fits in this defense. He's the Michael Bennett in the Dan Quinn system is what I think he'll probably end up being. But after that, Matt Hennessy, a guy who I liked, I don't get where you're going to play him. He is not like one of these centers that can play guard. He is pure center, and you got Alex Smack there for 2 more years. I just don't get that pick right there. And then Michael Walker, another coverage linebacker. Do they really need a 5th one? And then Jalen Hawkins was a terrible pick in the 4th. I don't know what they were thinking. And I'll never ever get mad at anyone for drafting a punter. That's a rule of mine. As long as it's after the 4th round, I really couldn't care less. I just think I gave this draft a C. I think that's generous.
I gave it a B. I really like this class. I agree with you with AJ Terrell. I think he's a really good player. I think 16 was a little rich for me, but I thought I had him rated in the 20s. I thought he was a really good corner in this class, and I think he's going to be a really good corner in that system. Marland Davidson was a first-round player for me. I think he's going to be – I completely agree with you. He's going to be the Michael Bennett to that defense, and him next to Grady Jarrett, I think you're going to have some interior push there. I really love that pick. Hennessy is interior depth. I think he could play guard. He needs time to develop there, but as a 3rd-round pick, I like that. Mikel Walker, he's really stiff. He's really, really stiff. But he's got really good football instincts. He's got really good IQ. I'm like Chris Sims. I do not scout punters and kickers, so I have no idea if Sterling Hofrichter is good, so I'm not going to judge that at all. I mean, I really think this is a team that put all their baskets into C.J. Henderson falling to them or them being able to trade up for C.J. Henderson. And when the board fell to them, they took the best corner that was available on their board. I don't really hate that.
Yeah.
So it's a B for me. I like the draft for them. I think they got better, and Marland Davidson and Grady Jarrett is just so scary to me. I love that pairing.
Yeah, I get that. It's just these teams like the Lions and the Falcons of the world who have aging quarterbacks, and we're like they're trying to get back into contention. I try to look at their draft and see what is their plan the next 2 years. Like a lot of drafts can give a lot, like the Redskins or the Bengals, can give a lot more leeway to their draft. These teams, I think, are in the worst positions, and I think the Falcons are a team that you might be surprised picking in the top 10 next year.
They might. I mean, I think they got a lot of talent. I would also not be surprised if they made the playoffs. So,
and that division,
I don't know who's going to come out of this division. I have no idea. Because if Brady and Breeze both take a step back, which is very much possible, given that they're both 108. I mean, I think anything's possible, except maybe the Panthers coming out of it.
I'm so worried about the Brady thing failing, because my thing is not that Brady will be bad, is that he'll look good for 8 seasons and then he can't throw 11,000 passes a season without his arm falling apart like Peyton Manning did. I'm worried. I hope I want nothing else in the best football, but you're right. This could be a problem. I think the Falcons might be in a similar boat with Matt Ryan though, so you never know. All right, moving on to arguably the best draft in terms of value in terms of what's it called? Per capita picks. The Saints got a replacement for Larry Warford, who they probably knew going in they were going to cut. They got Cesar Ruiz, which is perfect. Now they still have the best offensive line in football. They get to keep that moniker for the next guy. Their second pick is Zach Bond. Pretty much fixes the need that they needed. Oh, they needed a coverage linebacker. Well, they got probably one of the best ones in Zach Bond later, who's also not too shabby on the edge rush, which is something they also needed. So great, they get the perfect guy to fit into their system. And then, Jared Cook's aging and might not be good. Let's get one of the better pass catching tight ends in the 3rd round, and Adam Troutman. And just for fun, how about we get Tommy Stevens just to make the life of Taysom Hill even more exciting. Like they got a 6'5" Taysom Hill in the 7th. Why not? Perfect draft. I gave it an A just because, and the only reason it's not an A+ is because they had 3 picks essentially.
Yeah, they got an A from me too. I mean, I see a lot of draft experts giving out lower grades for the Saints because they only had 5 picks. But I mean, I'm ranking this off of what they did with those picks. I think Cesar Ruiz is a great pick, great value there at the end of the 1st round. Zach Bond, as you said, fills a need, and just value-wise is insane there in the 3rd round. You can argue he's not a 1st round player, but I don't think you're going to find anybody who was arguing he wasn't a 2nd round player. So I think it.
Yeah, I was surprised he made it past the Titans twice.
Exactly. I think he's a great player. Troutman was my tight end 3, so I love the what?
Who's your 2?
Devin Asiasi, I really like. Good. But the fact that the fullback out of Cincinnati went before Adam Troutman makes no sense to me. So I still just hating on the Packers more. But Troutman falling to the Saints is insane. The only pick I don't like is Tommy Stevens. That's the only reason this doesn't get an A+ for me, but it's a 7th round quarterback. So I'm not going to hate on that either. So this is an A draft for me. I mean, the Saints, they got 4 really good players. I mean, they got 4 really good players, and they only had 5 picks. And that's insane to me. So great job, Sean Payton. Mickey Loomis, you did a great job.
I read the story about the Saints were just doing whatever they could to trade back up in the 7th to get Tommy Stevens. They were on a manhunt for him. It was I've never seen anything like it. It was one of the craziest reads I've ever heard. If you ever want to read that article, but yeah.
I mean, I don't think he's very good. I would have rather them take Shea Patterson, but that's just me.
Really?
Oh, of course, I think Shea Patterson's gonna have a better career in the NFL than Tommy Stevens.
Let's not.
I'm just goading you, man.
I know you're going at me. Shea Patterson's garbage, but yeah, that does it for the NFC South. We'll be keep moving along and chugging, getting more of these draft grades out to you. Everyone, take care, and we'll see you in the next video.